The first week I moved in, I learned the sound of my dad getting out of bed in the dark, mattress springs creaking, a breath held, the soft scrape of his cane against the baseboard. At 2:11 a.m. that Tuesday, I heard the cane skid and hit the hallway wall. I was already halfway out of the back bedroom, lights low, hands out. "I'm fine," Dad said, which is what he always says when he isn't. My name is Lindsay Lewis. I'm 34. My dad, Eric Lewis, is 72 and recovering from a fall he insists was a misstep, even though it needed stitches and left his right shin open like a paper cut you can't ignore. My sister Laura is 38 and likes to say she handles logistics. We all grew up in this small ranch on the edge of town. I moved back into the spare room 12 weeks ago because nighttime is when Dad forgets to call for help. "Don't turn on the overhead," he hissed, as if the light would make it worse. I leaned him against the doorway, got the nightlight plugged in, and guided him the last few steps to the bathroom. He was shaky and embarrassed, both things I recognized in his voice before I saw them on his face. "I can do the dressing in the morning," I said. "Just sit for a minute." "I hate that you're up," he muttered, lowering himself onto the closed toilet lid, like it might slip away. "I hate that you're here." "I know," I said, rinsing the washcloth with warm water. "Me too." We both smiled because we both knew I didn't mean it. Dad hates being a burden more than he hates pain. He'll limp on a bad foot and call it character. But the home nurse, the one who came twice after the hospital, left instructions I could follow in my sleep: clean with saline, pat dry, thin smear of ointment, gauze, wrap, change daily. So I learned the med schedule and the dressing routine. I kept a notebook on the coffee table with his blood pressure, sugar readings, and which pills he took when. Morning: lisinopril, baby aspirin. Night: metformin, the antibiotic until the bottle ran out. I made a chart and stuck it to the fridge with a magnet in the shape of a fish. He pretended not to notice and took his pills when I handed them to him. I work 8 to 2 most weekdays doing billing for a plumbing company, so the routine became strict. Bandage before work, shower after lunch when I could be there to grab his elbow, quick dinner, meds, bed, night checks. I paid for gauze and ointment at the pharmacy without thinking because the nurse said to keep everything clean and I didn't want to bargain hunt with an open wound. Gas was just gas. The hospital is 20 minutes each way. I kept the receipts in a shoebox because that's what you do when you don't know what else to do. Laura said she'd handle paperwork. "You know me," she said on the phone the day after I moved in. "Forms don't scare me. You focus on the hands-on stuff, and I'll keep the administrative plate spinning." "Okay," I said, because that sounded like a fair split. She lives across town in a condo with an HOA and a balcony that looks nice in her photos. For the first couple of weeks, she called in the evenings and asked how Dad was doing, then texted, "You're a lifesaver for covering every night," which felt good until it didn't. She came by twice with a bag of bakery cookies and just happened to leave before shower time. I told myself we were a team. I liked the sentence enough to say it out loud once as I labelled another plastic bin of supplies: gauze 4x4, tape, ointment, saline, team. Nights blurred into each other. I got good at hearing the difference between a bathroom trip and the kind of aimless wandering that ends in a corner. I lined the hallway runner with non-slip pads and moved the laundry basket out of his room so he wouldn't try to step around it. I put a bell on his cane as a joke, and he took it off immediately, said he wouldn't be treated like a cat. On the 12th Monday after the fall, rain started just before dawn and tapped at the picture window like knuckles. I changed his dressing early, wrote down his vitals, 1:18:72, pulse 74, and set up his coffee and toast. He complained about the news, and then about the toast. I cleaned the kitchen, tucked the notebook under the remote, and grabbed my keys for work. That's when the mail slot clacked open and a thick state envelope slid onto the rug, the seal heavy and blue. I bent to pick it up, felt the weight in my hand, and for a second thought it was pamphlets about fall prevention or some brochure about home safety checklists. Anything good? Dad called from his recliner. I don't know yet, I said, turning it over. My name wasn't on it. His was. The return address read County Human Services. I set it on top of the notebook and smoothed the flap with my palm. Then I went to work and tried not to think about it all morning. When I got home after my 8 to 2 shift, the envelope was still sitting on top of the notebook, dead center on the coffee table like it had grown roots. Dad was dozing in his recliner, with the news murmuring low. You want me to open that county thing? I asked, standing where he could see me. He nodded without looking away from the screen. If it's just pamphlets, toss them with the coupons. I slid a butter knife under the flap. Not pamphlets. A cover letter, a payment summary printed in that faint grey ink some officers love, and a page of program rules. I scanned until the numbers jumped out. Monthly stipend, $600. Disbursements, 3. Payee, Laura Lewis. Role, primary caregiver. I read the line again. Then again slower, like maybe I'd misread the column. Laura, primary caregiver. What's it say? Dad asked, eyes still on the TV, voice careful. It's program stuff, I said, because my first instinct is always to spare him. I set the pages down, flipped to the second sheet. The dates covered the last 3 months. I did the math in my head, and my stomach tightened. 1,800 out. Gauze, ointment, tape, gas. The shower chair I'd bought second-hand off a neighbourhood Facebook group for $75 cash. My brain started lining up my shoebox of receipts like little soldiers, and it didn't add up right. I took a photo of the summary with my phone, then pulled the shoebox down from the shelf by the dining table and spread everything across the runner. Pharmacy totals in neat thermal tape, gas station slips with oil stains. The scribbled shower chair, 75, on a torn post-it from the cellar. Dad shifted in his chair and turned the volume up by 1 notch, the way he does when he feels me stirring up worry. I took the envelope into the kitchen, set it under the magnet on the side of the fridge, and called Laura. She picked up fast. Hey, I was just going to text. How's the patient? Tired, I said. Listen, a letter came from County Human Services. Payment summary. It lists you as the payee. Primary caregiver. A beat. Then, breezy. Right, yeah. I set that up. I've been coordinating appointments and insurance. You know, all that back-end stuff. It's basically my admin fee. Admin fee, I repeated. I've been on hold for hours, Lynn. You have no idea. I mean, bless you for the nights, truly, but the program doesn't even do night care. It's more like compliance and scheduling. She exhaled into the phone like she was exhausted by the thought of it. I stared at the magnet shaped like a fish, holding the paper in place. The letter says primary caregiver. It says the stipend goes to that person. It's just wording, she said. Don't make this a thing. You're getting so emotional lately. I didn't say anything. I pulled up our text thread with my thumb, scrolled back to the second week after I moved in. You're a lifesaver for covering every night. Another one. I can't do late nights, you know me. But wow, so grateful. I took screenshots. My hand was steady. I'm not making it a thing, I said finally. I'm asking where the money's going, because I'm buying supplies and gas, and we're all supposed to be on the same page. It's going to the care, she said, voice tightening. I'm distributing resources. I budgeted it. For what? For the whole picture. I had to pay a fee to expedite the primary care provider paperwork, and I bought Dad those bakery cookies he likes. Cookies, I said. I turned and looked at Dad, who was half listening now, eyes on me. Can we not do this over the phone? Laura added quickly. I'm heading into a meeting. We'll circle back. Okay, I said, because arguing with her on the phone never goes anywhere but louder. One more thing. The program rules are in the envelope. I'm going to read them. We should both read them. Knock yourself out, she said. I'll call later. She hung up. I set the phone down, pressed my thumb and forefinger into the bridge of my nose. then picked up the pages again and read them properly. It wasn't complicated. The stipend was designed to help keep people at home by offsetting the cost of caregiving. It listed examples: bathing, medication management, wound care. It did not say administrative coordination. It said document tasks. It said payee must be the person providing care. Dad cleared his throat. "You okay, kiddo?" "I'm going to make copies of this," I said, and I sounded calm, which was new. I slid the summary into my notebook, dated the corner, and wrote, "Payment summary. Laura listed as primary." I took more photos: the med chart on the fridge, the notebook pages with dates and vitals, the bag of gauze with today's receipt tucked inside. I opened our text thread again and saved every message where she said thanks for the nights. I created a folder on my phone and named it Dad Care. At dinner, Dad pushed his green beans around and finally said, "Your sister. She means well." "I know," I said. I handed him his evening pills and watched him swallow them one at a time, his jaw working the way it does when he's trying not to say a second sentence. After he went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table and wrote out a timeline, just the facts. When I moved in, the wound care steps, the shifts, the receipts, the envelope. I wasn't sure what I was going to do with it yet. I just knew I was done pretending I didn't see what I saw. In the morning, on my break, I'd go by the library and print everything. Then I'd put it all in the notebook and keep going. By morning, I'd decided not to sit on the paper trail, on my 10 a.m. break. I drove 2 blocks to the library, fed $1 into the printer, and sent PDFs from my phone. The payment summary, the program rules, screenshots of Laura's "You're a lifesaver for covering every night" texts, a photo of the med chart on the fridge, a couple of notebook pages with dates and vitals. I borrowed a stapler from the front desk and made tidy little packets. On the cover of each, I wrote in pen, "Eric Lewis, Home Care, Log." Back at work, I slid the packets into a manila folder and put it in my tote. My boss poked his head into my cubicle and made small talk about the rain. I answered like a person who didn't have a folder burning a hole through canvas. At 2 a.m, I clocked out and headed home. Dad was in his recliner with his shoes on. Good sign. "Wound check at 3:15, I said, holding up the folder like it was a flag. "Ready?" He made a face. "Do they have to poke it?" "They'll look and maybe trim dead skin," I said. "It's quick." He groaned but stood, and I walked behind him down the ramp I'd had a neighbour's nephew build after the fall. In the car, he fiddled with the radio and landed on oldies warbling about moonlight. He hummed off-key. At the clinic, the nurse recognised us. "How's it doing?" she asked, already peeling back tape. "Better," I said. And it was. The angry edges had settled into clean pink. She rinsed with saline, dabbed, spread a thin line of ointment. "You're doing it right," she said, glancing at me. "Keep it clean, daily changes, elevate when he's sitting." I nodded and pulled my notebook out when the physician came in. He checked the chart, pressed gently around the wound and said, "Another week and you can switch to every other day if it continues like this." He dictated discharge instructions to the nurse. I asked for a copy. "Of course," she said, printing it, the paper still warm when she handed it over. I stapled it into the notebook and wrote the date, time, the names of the nurse and doctor, and exactly what they said about frequency and supplies. Back in the car, Dad said, "You're very official." "Helps me remember," I said, buckling him in. "You want coffee on the way home?" He perked up. "Decaf, if you're asking." I dropped him at the house with his decaf and a turkey sandwich, made sure he had the remote and his leg propped up, then texted Laura. "We need to talk in person. Today, if possible." She replied fast. "Cafe on Maple at 5? I have a hard stop at 5:30. I got there early and watched her through the window as she slid out of her SUV, sunglasses in her hair like a headband. She hugged me in the doorway, wide smile, bakery case air between us. "Don't make that face," she said, patting my arm. "I'm not the enemy." I didn't make a face, I said. though maybe I had. We ordered. She got an iced latte with almond milk and something syrupy. I asked for a small drip because it was the cheapest thing, and sat at a wobbly table by the window. "So," she said, drawing the word out. "What's the emergency? I've been on hold with insurance for hours this week. My brain is mush." "The county letter," I said. "It lists you as payee. It says primary caregiver. The rules say the stipend goes to whoever is providing the bath, meds, wound care. That's me. I want the stipend to go towards supplies and gas." She smiled, tight enough to show a hint of tooth. "I already budgeted it. Next month I'll reassess." "Budgeted it for what?" "Everything. I paid an expedite fee for the provider registration. I've been driving out there for appointments." She waved her straw. "You know how much gas is?" "I do," I said. "I filled up twice last week." I took out one of the packets and set it between us. "I'm documenting because the program asks us to document. This is not me making a scene. This is me following the rules they sent." She didn't touch the packet. "Lynn, come on. We're just different kinds of helpers. I'm big picture. You're detail-oriented. It all evens out." "You get so intense. I'm asking you to use the stipend for the care or transfer it to the person doing the care." She glanced at the clock behind the counter, then back at me. "I have to get to a client call. Let's not blow up the family over wording, okay? I'll look at next month. We'll reassess." She stood up before I could answer. I picked up the untouched packet and my coffee and followed her out. On the sidewalk, she hugged me again like nothing had happened. "Tell Dad I said hi," she said, already scrolling her phone as she walked away. I drove home with the coffee cooling untouched in the cup holder. The house was quiet. Dad had dozed off, his mouth open slightly, the decaf half finished on the table. I went to his bedroom to put away clean laundry and noticed his top dresser drawer half open, receipts from the pharmacy sliding around like fish scales. Underneath them, his debit card. "Why isn't this in your wallet?" I asked when he stirred and shuffled to the doorway. He shrugged. "I don't go anywhere." "That's not the point," I said, softer than the words read. I slid the card into my pocket, then thought better, and put it back. Took a photo instead. I stacked the receipts, wrote the date on the top one, and placed them neatly in the drawer. At the kitchen table, I opened my laptop and scanned my handwritten logs into PDFs, saved them to a folder on the desktop, and to the Dad Care folder on my phone. I typed a simple timeline. Date I moved in, daily routines, clinic visits, calls. I pulled the county letter off the side of the fridge, read the line with the caseworker's phone number, and dialed the first 3 digits. Then I stared at the rest until the numbers blurred. I set the phone down, lined up the manila folder's edges, and listened to Dad breathing in the next room. I wasn't ready to call. Not yet. But the number sat there, waiting, and I sat there, readying. I called the number on the county letter the next morning from the kitchen, notebook open, pen uncapped. A woman answered, crisp and even. "Human Services, Mallory Webb?" "Hi," I said. "My name is Lindsay. My dad is Eric Lewis." We received a payment summary listing my sister as primary caregiver, but I'm the one doing the wound care and meds. I have documentation. She didn't sound surprised. "I can schedule a home visit to review care and verify documentation. Does Thursday at 10 work?" "Yes," I said, already writing it down. "It'll be me and my dad. I can ask my sister to come. Please, if you have a care log, receipts, medication lists, have those available. We'll talk through program rules." After I hung up, I texted Laura. "Home visit with county caseworker. Thursday, 10 a.m. at Dad's." She replied right away. "Perfect. I'll bring something." Dad watched me from the recliner. "Are we in trouble?" "No," I said. "They want to make sure the money is going to care. That's what we're doing." "I don't want to fight in my living room," he said, eyes on the TV. "Me neither," I said. "It's not a fight. It's a check-in." I spent Wednesday evening making sure everything was where I could reach it. The notebook lived on the coffee table with a fresh pen clipped to the front. I stacked the library printouts into one neat stack, paper-clipped by month. I taped a copy of the discharge instructions inside the front cover of the notebook so it wouldn't get lost. I wiped crumbs off the kitchen table because crumbs become an argument in our family when people don't want to talk about the actual thing. Thursday at 9:40, Laura pulled up in her SUV and came in with a white bakery box balanced on her hands and a smile balanced on her face. "Morning," she sang. "I got scones. For hospitality." She set the box in the middle of the table like a centerpiece and moved Dad's newspaper and my folder off to the side with one sweep. "We're not hosting," I said, sliding the folder back between us. "We're reviewing." She leaned toward me, voice low. "Let's just keep this high level, okay?" "I can take point." Dad adjusted his plaid shirt and said to no one, "I don't need a production." At exactly 10, there was a knock. I opened the door to a woman in a grey cardigan with an ID badge clipped to a lanyard. "Ms. Lewis?" she asked. "Lindsay?" I said. "Come in. This is my dad, Eric, my sister, Laura." She shook hands with both of them and took a seat at the table, setting a slim folder down and a legal pad on top. "I'm Mallory Webb. Thank you for having me. I'm here to verify who's providing care, how the stipend is being used, and to make sure everyone understands the program." Laura slid the bakery box an inch closer to Mallory. "Scone?" "Thank you. No," Mallory said, pen poised. "To start, can you describe the current care needs?" I nodded to Dad. "He fell 12 weeks ago, shin wound, daily dressing changes, clean with saline, ointment, gauze, wrap, meds in the morning and evening." "I keep a log." I turned the notebook so she could see the columns, the dates, the vitals. Mallory underlined the date at the top of the current page. "Who performs the dressing changes?" Dad glanced at me and then at the TV and back. "She does," he said. "Every morning. She yells at me about elevating my leg. She's right." "I don't yell," I said. "I remind." I flipped to the discharge paper and read the line the doctor had dictated. "They said we can switch to every other day soon if it keeps healing." Mallory copied the instruction into her notes. "And who manages medications?" "I hand them to him," I said. "Morning lisinopril and aspirin, evening metformin. And he finished the antibiotic last week." I pointed to the med chart on the fridge with the fish magnet. "I made that so we don't miss anything." "Who is present overnight?" Mallory asked. "I am," I said. Laura spoke then, a quick lean-in. "I coordinate the big picture," she said. "Insurance, appointments, calls. I set up the stipend initially and made sure he was in the system. Different kinds of help." Mallory looked at her. "Thank you for coordinating. The program's stipend is intended for the person performing the caregiving tasks: bathing, dressing changes, medication management, overnight supervision. Administrative coordination is important, but it isn't what this stipend is designed to pay." Laura laughed lightly, a sound that didn't quite match her face. "Right, but someone has to keep the ship afloat. I'm the point of contact." Mallory kept her pen moving. "Who currently receives the stipend?" "I do," Laura said. "It was efficient for me to set up as primary because I was already on the phone with them." Mallory didn't react, just drew a small box around a date and underlined it. "Do you have receipts for supplies?" I slid the manila folder open and handed over copies. Pharmacy receipts, gas slips, the scribbled note for the shower chair. I showed the screenshots of Laura's texts, thanking me for nights, printed, dates visible. Mallory read without raising her eyebrows, marking a couple of places with a green highlighter she pulled from her folder. She turned to Dad. "Do you consent to your daughters discussing your care and stipend arrangements in front of me?" Dad rubbed his thumb along the arm of his chair. "I do. I want it done right. I don't want fighting." Mallory nodded. "My role is to make sure our rules are followed. Based on what I'm seeing and hearing, the person providing the hands-on care is Lindsay. The stipend should reflect that. I'll be following up in writing with next steps. There may be adjustments to past payments." Laura's smile thinned. "Adjustments? I'll outline it in the letter," Mallory said, closing her folder. "In the meantime, keep documenting. If care shifts, note it. She stood, shook hands again, and left as neatly as she came. The room held its breath for a second after the door closed. Laura opened the bakery box and held it out to Dad. "Scone." Her voice was bright again. He shook his head. "No thanks." "I have a call," she said, eyes already on her phone. "We'll reassess next month." She kissed the air near Dad's cheek, then mine, and left the box on the table like a placeholder. I took my notebook back to the coffee table and wrote the date and time of the visit and Mallory's last sentence. "We'll be following up in writing." Then I put the scones in a bag for the freezer. Dad picked at a crumb that had fallen on his knee. "You did fine," I said. He nodded at the TV. "Tell me when it's over." "I will," I said. I meant more than one thing. That afternoon, after Mallory left and the house settled, I called Nasir Douglas from 2 doors down. He's the kind of neighbour who knows which drill bit you need before you do. "Can you help me bolt a lockbox?" I asked. "Linen closet. I want to keep Dad's cards and checkbook in one place." "Give me 20 minutes, he said. "I'll bring anchors." While I waited, I told Dad what I was doing. I sat on the footstool, so I was eye level. "I'm putting your debit card, credit card, and checkbook in a lockbox. You'll have access when you need it. It's just safer, centralised." He looked at the TV, then me. "You think I can't be trusted?" "I think you shouldn't have to keep track of everything while you're healing," I said. "And I don't want things wandering." He snorted. "Who's going to wander off with my checkbook?" I didn't answer that part. I brought the small fireproof box in from my trunk, $40 from the hardware store on my lunch break, and set it on the table. He studied it like it might bite. "You'll have the key," I said, holding one up. "And I'll have one. We log anything we take in or out." I put a lined index card inside the lid and wrote "Lockbox log" at the top. He sighed and reached for his wallet. "Might as well do it right." He handed me his debit card, one credit card he barely used, the checkbook, and, after a pause, a folded paper with his pins. "Don't lose that." "I won't," I said. I wrote down what went in, closed the lid and waited for Nasir. Nasir arrived in his scuffed work boots with a toolbox and a tape measure. "Hey, Eric," he said, nodding. "You behaving?" "Against my will," Dad said, but he smiled. We cleared the bottom shelf of the linen closet, old towels, 2 lonely washcloths, and held the box against the back wall to mark the holes. Nasir found a stud on the right side, but not the left. "We'll lag into the stud here and use heavy-duty anchors on this side," he said. "No one's ripping this out without taking the closet with them." He drilled clean, fast holes, vacuumed the dust with a little shop vac he'd brought, and set the bolts. The lockbox sat snug against the wall when we were done. I set Dad's things inside, turned the key, and handed the second key to him. He turned it over in his palm, then passed it back to me. "Hang on to it," he said. "You're here. I'm not going anywhere." "Okay," I said, tucking it on a ring with my house key. Nasir followed me to the bathroom and looked at the shower. "You want grab bars while I'm here?" "Yes," I said immediately. "By the toilet and the shower entrance?" "I'll pay for the bars and hardware." "Let's run to the store," he said. "Find studs first so we don't drill blind." We did a quick loop to the hardware store. I grabbed 2 18-inch bars and the right fasteners. Back at the house, Nasir found studs on one side of each spot and used secure anchors on the other. He pulled hard to test them. "Rock solid," he said. "You call me if anything wiggles." Dad came to see. He touched the bar by the toilet and nodded, the kind of nod that says, "Fine, you were right." I printed a fresh medication chart, bigger font, and taped it next to the original with a second magnet. Under it I put a new sheet titled Care Tasks. I wrote in clear bullet points: morning, wound care, saline, ointment, gauze, wrap. Morning meds, lisinopril, aspirin, elevate leg when sitting, check blood sugar before lunch on MWF. Evening meds, metformin, shower only with assistance, after lunch. Note vitals in notebook daily. I stepped back and looked at the fridge. No one could claim they didn't know what care meant. At 3:20, my phone buzzed with our family group text. Laura. Just found out Lindsay took Dad's money. Unbelievable. Then she tagged a cousin like she was calling in a witness. Dad heard my exhale. What now? Noise, I said. I walked to the fridge, took a photo of the payment summary still under the magnet, then flipped open my notebook to a page I'd labelled last night. 12 nights this month. All me. I snapped that too, and sent both images to the chat. No caption. 3 dots blinked. The cousin wrote, "Maybe we should keep this off text." Laura sent a string of eye-roll emojis. I muted the thread. Then I opened a new message to Laura, separate from the group. I kept my tone plain. Reimbursement request. Gas. $312, receipts attached. Supplies. Gauze, ointment, tape, saline. $148, receipts attached. Shower chair. $75, screenshot attached. Please reimburse within 7 days. If you prefer, you can pay the pharmacy directly next time. I attached scans of the receipts and the screenshot of the Facebook message, where I arranged the chair pickup, the seller's $75 okay, in a little grey bubble. She read it, 2 blue checks, and didn't respond. I made dinner early, simple pasta and green beans. Dad used the new grab bar without comment. After he was settled for the night, I wrote in the notebook, lockbox installed, linen closet, grab bars installed, toilet, shower, care tasks posted, family chat, photos sent, reimbursement sent to Laura. The next day, a little after noon, the mail slot clacked against the front door. I went to pick up the pile and felt one envelope stand out under my fingers, thick, with a green certified mail slip stapled to the front. County Human Services. Addressee, Laura Lewis, C.O. Eric Lewis. I set it on the coffee table where she couldn't miss it and took a photo for my records. Then I texted her. Certified letter here for you from the county. It's on Dad's table. She replied with a single word. Lovely. I left it where it was and went back to the kitchen, the house quiet in a way that felt like bracing for weather. Laura showed up for the certified letter late afternoon, sunglasses still on like the sun was inside. She didn't sit. She plucked the envelope off the coffee table with 2 fingers, said, "I can't stay," and was out the door before I could offer a scone from her own box in the freezer. 10 minutes later, my phone lit up. "Are you kidding me?" she said, no greeting. "They are targeting me. Do you understand? This letter is insane." I kept my voice level. "What does it say?" She rattled papers. "It says overpayment. It says repay 1,200 and payments paused pending change of payee. It says non-compliance may affect eligibility." "That's threatening, Lindsay." I put her on speaker and set the phone on the table so I could write while she talked. Dad looked over from his recliner, eyebrows up. 2 months, I asked. 2 months, she snapped. They're only counting back 2 months because... More paper noise? Because effective date of review or some bureaucratic nonsense, and they want to switch the payee to you. That tracks with what Mallory said, I said. The stipend goes to the person doing the care. You've made me look like a thief, she said, voice going thin at the edges. To the county, to our family. I sent receipts, I said. I asked for reimbursement. You didn't answer. Because you blindsided me, she said. You don't go to the government before talking to your sister. You humiliated me. People at my office could see this if it becomes a record. I glanced at Dad. He was pretending to watch the weather, but his chin was tight. This is about Dad, I said. And the rules. The rules, she repeated, like the word had a bad taste. You know what? Maybe I'll take Dad for the weekend. I'll do the care. I'll perform tasks, and we'll log it, and you can see that I'm not some villain. I can handle it. No, I said. Excuse me, she said, in the tone she uses when a waiter tells her they're out of the special. No, I repeated, still even. He has a wound routine. The grab bars are new. The shower is a 2-person job right now. If you want time with him, great. Take a shift here. Sign the calendar. But he's not leaving the house without a plan. She went silent long enough that I could hear her breathing. Then sharper. You don't get to dictate terms. He's my father too. And he's my father, I said. Which is why we're going to sit down at his table and hear the same words at the same time. Tonight. You, me, Dad. We'll put Mallory on speaker to clarify the program so we don't argue about what it says. Dad turned his head. What's happening? He asked, not asking. I covered the mic. We're sorting the letter, I said, and he nodded like that answer would have to do for now. On the phone, Laura said, I'm not doing a tribunal. It's not a tribunal, I said. It's us and the caseworker who already explained the rules. I don't want anyone saying later they didn't hear what they heard. She blew out a breath. Fine. But my side is on speaker too. Who is your side? Just someone from my office who knows about benefits, she said, vague, which usually meant no one specific. Mallory is the person who knows this program, I said. I'll email her and ask if she can do a quick call. 6:30? Before dinner? She gets off at 5, Laura said, like she knew her schedule. This is so dramatic. I'll ask, I said. If she can't, we set a time tomorrow. But we sit down tonight either way, with the letter in front of us. Another pause. 6:30, she said finally. I'll be there. We hung up. I texted Mallory. Certified letter arrived for Laura. She's disputing. Can we do a brief speaker call at 6:30 to clarify stipend rules and next steps? If not, tomorrow morning works. I included my number and wrote, We'll be at Eric's kitchen table. She replied 2 minutes later, I can do 6:15, 6:30. I'll call you. Please have the letter and your documentation out. I exhaled. She can do 6:15, I told Dad. He nodded, then fiddled with the recliner lever. I don't want a fight. We're aiming for information, I said. I got up, took his empty water glass, and refilled it. You can say as much or as little as you want. You can leave if you want to, and I'll come get you. I'll stay, he said. I should sit in my own kitchen. At 5:30, I started dinner. Simple chicken and rice. Something that didn't require timing my attention. I set the notebook, the letter still in its certified envelope, and the printouts in a neat stack at Dad's end of the table. I added a pad of paper and a pen in front of the chair Laura usually takes when she visits. The fridge papers, MedChart, care tasks, looked steadier than I felt. Laura arrived at 6:20 in clicking heels, even though the house is all vinyl and carpet. She didn't take off her sunglasses until she sat. She put the letter on the table like a challenge coin. I brought my notes, she said, tapping her phone. Also, for the record, that repayment is steep for 2 months. There's an address to send it, I said. There's also an option to appeal. It's all in the letter. She rolled her eyes, but didn't argue. Dad cleared his throat. We're going to listen to the lady from the county and do what she says, he said, as if saying it would make it true. I set my phone face up in the middle of the table. At 6:17, it buzzed. Mallory's name on the screen. Hi, this is Lindsay, I said, hitting speaker. I'm here with my dad, Eric, and my sister, Laura. Good evening, Mallory said, voice the same steady it had been in the living room. I only have a few minutes. How can I help? Laura sat up straighter. We need to clarify, she said. The letter is punitive. I coordinated everything. I shouldn't be penalised for being organised. Mallory didn't rush. The stipend is designed to support the person performing caregiving tasks so the care recipient can remain at home. That's where eligibility and payee status come from. Our review indicated Lindsay is performing those tasks. Laura made a noise, like a laugh swallowed too late. Well, we'll see about that. We will, Mallory said. But right now, the letter outlines next steps. Payments are paused. There is an overpayment for 2 months due to the effective date of our review. That amount is just $200. The payee change can be completed once we receive the signed form. I can answer questions about process. I watched Laura's face shift through a couple of options and land on injured. This is humiliating, she said. To have this on record. Mallory's tone didn't change. It's an administrative correction. It becomes less complicated when everyone aligns with the program. I have to drop in a minute. I said, we'll sign what we need to sign. Dad put his palm flat on the table. We'll do Lindsay's plan, he said quietly. Calendar, keys back, no more confusion. Laura's head snapped toward him. The word keys hung in the air like a bell. We'll talk about that, she said, tight. We'll talk, I said. The rice cooker clicked behind me. I didn't move. Mallory, thank you. You're welcome, she said. I'll send the change of payee form tonight by email and mail. Please return promptly. Good night. The line clicked off. The house sounded too loud all at once. Rice keeping warm, Dad's breathing, Laura's phone buzzing with some alert she ignored. Let's eat, I said. Then we'll fill out the form. We ate with the phone face down between the salt and pepper. Dad asked for more rice. Laura picked at her chicken like it might argue back. When the plates were cleared, I opened my email on my laptop at the table. Mallory had already sent the form, change of payee request, attached as a fillable PDF. I slid the computer so Dad could see. Name a care recipient, I read. Eric Lewis, address. I typed it in. Current payee, Laura Lewis. New payee, Lindsay Lewis. Laura exhaled like the air was hot. This is ridiculous. It's the process, I said. I kept my voice even and my eyes on the boxes. Reason for change. Actual caregiving performed by new payee. Documentation attached. I clicked to add files and attach the packet I'd already saved. The signature field blinked. Dad, you have to authorize the change, I said. You can sign with your finger on the trackpad if that works. He looked at Laura, then at me. We're doing the rules, he said, like he was reminding himself. He took a breath and scrawled his name with more care than it needed. I signed my part. I typed the date and time. I CC'd Laura and hit send to Mallory. Laura leaned back in her chair and stared at the ceiling for a second. You have no idea how this looks, she said. Like I'm being hauled to the principal's office because I took initiative? It looks like we're aligning with the criteria, I said. I pulled the certified letter back toward me and tapped the paragraph about overpayment. They counted back 2 months. They're not dragging this through the mud. They're correcting it. She didn't answer. The house settled around us. The click of the fridge cycling on, a car passing outside, the soft hum of the rice cooker keeping warm. Dad rubbed his knee. I need one more thing, he said, suddenly. His voice had the gravel it gets when he's about to say something he doesn't want to. He looked at Laura. Give your key to the house to your sister. We'll figure out a calendar. We had trouble when people just came and went. Laura blinked. My key? She touched her bag like the key might hide. Why? So I know who's in my kitchen, he said. So she knows when people are coming. No more surprises. We can text, she said quickly. I always text. You don't, he said, soft, not mean. Sometimes you don't. She swallowed and stared at the table. For a moment I thought she would fight. Instead, she pulled her key ring out of her bag, slid a single brass house key off with her thumbnail, and set it on the table, inches from my phone. She didn't look at me. I'll knock, she said. Fine. Thank you, I said. I put the key on my ring and felt the weight change in my palm. Rules make a sound if you listen closely. It's quiet and metallic. I'm going to make a care calendar, I said. A simple month grid on the fridge. If you want time with Dad, pick a slot and initial the tasks you'll do. Shower, meds, lunch, put your name next to something, not just a time. That way it's clear. That's punitive, she said. It's concrete, I said. It's so we don't argue about what helping means. You can bring cookies too, but that goes in a different column. Dad huffed a laugh. The corner of his mouth raised, then dropped. No more taking me out for a drive to clear the air without telling her, he added to Laura. I don't want to miss my pills because we're in a parking lot. Laura bristled. I wasn't. We're not litigating old drives, I said. We're setting a plan. If you want a weekend in the future, we'll write out care tasks and go over the shower routine together first, And you'll do a shift here before we talk weekends. She folded her arms. I'll look at my schedule. Good, I said. The calendar goes up tomorrow. You can message me for a photo of it if you need it. We sat there a minute. Laura's phone buzzed. She didn't pick it up. I opened my notebook and wrote, Form sent to Mallory. Email. Dad authorized change. Laura returned house key. Plan. Care calendar. Shifts sign up required. No off-site without plan. Dad cleared his throat. No more confusion, he said, as if saying it might make it stick. Right, I said. I stacked the plates and took them to the sink. Laura stood. I have to go, she said, already pulling her bag onto her shoulder. At the doorway, she paused and glanced back. I'll send something toward your receipts. Thank you, I said. After she left, the house expanded a little, like a fist unclenching. I washed dishes while Dad watched the sports segment in silence. When I finished, I walked to the fridge and pulled a blank sheet of printer paper from the drawer we keep menus in. I drew a grid with a black marker, wrote the days and dates across the top, and titled it Care Calendar. I taped it next to the care tasks list with another fish magnet. Looks official, Dad said. It's just paper, I said. But it helps. I locked the lockbox in the linen closet and spun the key on my ring once before tucking it away. I wrote one more line in the notebook. Key secured. After meds and a quick check of the wrap, I turned out the lamp. The house was quiet in the right places. No argument humming in the walls, just the refrigerator, the clock, and Dad breathing steady down the hall. Mallory's follow-up came the next morning. Email subject, payee change, Eric Lewis. Form received. Effective next cycle. The stipend would deposit to my account on the 1st. She attached a one-page summary that repeated the plain language from her visit. Stipend intended for hands-on care. At the bottom, she noted the overpayment amount and a line about repayment options. Pay in full within 30 days or call to arrange a plan. CC. Laura. Laura didn't reply. All. She sent me a separate text. This isn't over. Then another a minute later. Do not freeze me out of Dad's life. No one's freezing, I said out loud to the empty kitchen and went back to my list. I printed Mallory's email and added it to the front of the notebook. Then I filled out the direct deposit form, took a photo of a voided check and emailed it back. I made a budget on a sticky note. Set aside half for a part-time aide, the rest for supplies and gas. The clinic nurse had given me 2 names when she heard I was up nights. I called the first one, a woman named Rosalind Carter, who did private morning shifts for seniors after years in facility work. 2 mornings? 3 hours each, I said. 7 to 10, wound care, breakfast, shower assist. Light kitchen cleanup. I can do Tuesdays and Fridays, she said. Her voice was steady, practical. 18 an hour. I'll bring my gloves and references. We met at the house for a trial morning. She arrived on time with a canvas bag and a notepad. I showed her the med chart, the care tasks sheet on the fridge, and the notebook. She washed her hands without being asked, which told me what I needed to know. You okay with the wrap? I asked, laying out saline, gauze, tape, ointment. She nodded. I'll follow your pattern. Dad eyed her, sceptical for 2 minutes, then softened when she joked about morning TV. By 8:30 he was wrapped, fed, and in his recliner with his leg up. Rosalind jotted the date and tasks on the notepad and handed me a receipt that read 3 hours morning care, wound care, breakfast, shower assist. I paper-clipped it into the notebook. See you Friday, she said, and I meant it when I said I was glad. I made the care calendar bigger and cleaner and taped it next to the tasks list. I texted a photo to Laura. If you want time, pick a square and put your initials plus the task. She didn't answer, but later that night, her initials appeared in neat block letters on the paper itself. Sunday 1 to 4 p.m, lunch plus meds check. She must have stopped by while I was running to the pharmacy. Fine. We had a system. On the 1st, the stipend hit my account. I bought a case of gauze online, so I wasn't paying retail for individual packs. I stocked extra saline and tape. I paid Rosalind in cash after each shift and had her sign a simple receipt I made on my computer. I filed everyone. It felt like air returning to a room I didn't realise had been stuffy. Sunday, Laura showed up on time and stuck to the plan. She made soup and sat with Dad while a baseball game droned on. She checked the med chart and initialed the lunchtime box on the fridge. I took the hour to nap with my phone on loud. When I got up, there was a text from her. Venmo sent for gas plus supplies. It wasn't the full amount I'd requested. $250 landed in my account with the subject line, gas plus supplies. I logged it in the notebook and sent her the remaining balance with dates. She didn't reply. Dad's wound kept closing like a book you're done reading. At the next clinic check, the nurse smiled and said, "Looks good." Switch to every other day, and when it's fully closed, no more wraps. Just moisturiser. She printed the after-visit summary, and I stapled it in. A week later, we put the gauze back in the bin and left it there. The lockbox did what it was supposed to. When the pharmacy called about a refill, I unlocked the closet, took out the debit card, paid, and put it back. I wrote 10, paid R6, at pharmacy, card returned. If anyone asked, I could point to a line instead of a feeling. Keys stayed with me. Nasir stopped by to ask how the bars were holding up. Dad told him he didn't slip in the shower this week, like it was a joke. The family group chat went quiet after my photos. The cousin who'd been tagged sent a neutral heart, and then nothing else. The quiet felt like a boundary too. Mallory's final letter arrived by regular mail. It was short. Payee change processed. Future stipend to Lindsay Lewis. Overpayment, $101,200. Contact our office to arrange repayment if needed. Eligibility remains active contingent on compliance. I put it in the notebook and slid the notebook back into its place on the coffee table. "Is it over?" Dad asked, not taking his eyes off the headlines. "It's settled," I said. "We have a plan. The money goes where the care is." He nodded and reached for his water. His appetite came back in small ways, asking for a second slice of toast, for a piece of bacon on Tuesday, for more rice at dinner. The house got quiet in the right ways. There were still tasks, but they lined up and waited their turn. Laura texted once more. "I'll do next Sunday too." She added a key emoji that meant nothing now. She knocked to her time and left when her slot ended. No more surprise drives to clear the air. When she asked about taking Dad to a diner one afternoon, I sent the shower routine and the med timing and told her to pick a day when Rosalind was here so we could walk through it together. She pivoted to coffee at the house instead. No keys, no funds, no exceptions. The lockbox stayed closed unless I opened it. The notebook stayed open because I did. I kept my 8 to 2 at work. Rosalind's Tuesdays and Fridays gave me 2 mornings to sleep and 1 afternoon to sit on the back step with a cup of coffee and nothing urgent to fix. On the first night, I didn't set an alarm for a 2 a.m. check. I still woke at 2:11 out of habit. I lay there and listened. No skid, no cane hitting the wall. Just the clock, the refrigerator, and Dad's steady breath down the hall. I turned my face into the pillow and, for the first time in months, fell back asleep before the minute changed.